What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel once again. So today we're going to be taking a look at the newest LaserPecker LP5 laser engraving machine. Now I'm super excited to be trying this out, as this does feature a 20-watt diode laser along with a 20-watt fiber laser. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get this all unboxed. We're going to test this all out and see how well this machine works, so be sure to stick around. So already I like that they included these hard plastic corner pieces just to make sure that the box doesn't get all banged up along with the machine inside. All right, so I got everything laid out on the table, and here you can see everything that it does come with. You can see the power adapter, AC cord, USB cable, the whole rotary attachment. Right here is the material pack that it does come with, some safety goggles. Right here is the entire hardware you're going to need to put this all together, which does have the security key along with the flash drive for any files you may need. You have the laser module itself along with the electric stand. You have these pieces right here that go for the slide extension. You have the rotary extension user manual here along with the manual itself. You have the pipe and pipe adapter, the base, and the cover for it. So I'm guessing this should be a fairly simple install and setup. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll be back right after that. So first I'm just going to use these M4 screws to attach the electric stand to the base. Now I'll simply attach the laser unit to the stand itself. I'll go ahead and attach the cover now, and this protective shield does just come off. And there's two screws inside of here that will attach. And now I can place the shield back on. All that's left to do now is just attach the power cables to the ports. Now on the back, this does have an exhaust vent, and that is what the hose is for. So I can simply just connect it. And I can vent the hose where I need to. So I will just go ahead and set up the slide extension now, just to have that all set up. But I'll go ahead, I'll get this moved out of the way so I have room. So to attach this, I just need these M3 screws, and I just need 3 for each side. So now I'm just going to attach the rotary to the base plate itself, just using these M3 screws. You can see on this rotary attachment that you can easily adjust this just by turning the knob if I want to do a different angle, and then I can tighten it back up. And on the back you do have the power connections. And if you need a little bit more stability on the piece you're engraving, you can attach this little connector that slides on, and you can lock it in place. Now inside this USB cable box was all the cords I'm going to need for each of the attachments, along with these little tie downs to secure your piece securely to the base plate. So I'm going to head over to my computer now, see what's on this flash drive, see if I can get the software installed to get this up and running, and let's try out our first test. Now for these first few tests, I'm not going to be using the slide extension or the rotary extension, so I will just move those out of the way. And I'm actually going to also take off the cover so you guys can see a little bit better on how this works without that being in the way. So while I was actually getting this all set up and unboxed, another package did come, which was the air purifier to go along with this. So the air purifier does connect to the back of the cover, but I won't be using that just yet, as I will be removing the cover so we can run this first test so you can see everything that's going on. So to get this all set up, all you'll need to do is take one of the cords, plug it into the electric lifter, and plug it into the back like that. I will take the little key and insert that as well. To hook it up to the computer, I'll just take this cord that runs from my computer and plug it into the little computer screen looking piece right there. Now all I need to do is plug in the power cord in the top left. I can also plug the USB in right here on the right hand side. And these two extra ports are for the rotary extension and the slide extension. So as you can see, I do have this all hooked up to my computer. I did remove the cover, and all it's left now to do, remove the lens cap. I'll jump over to the computer and let's try out one of these test pieces. All right, so I got the software all downloaded, and here we are in LaserPecker Design Space. Now this is the initial screen, so I'm just gonna go ahead and click on New File. And up on the right, you can see that it has no devices connected. So I'm just gonna connect the device, the LP5. I'll click on COM3. You'll hear a beep, and here on the upper right, you can see that now it is connected. So for this first test, I am just going to be using one of their test files that came on the USB that I plugged into the back of the machine. And over on the left, you can see that it has a little icon for USB here. And if I click on that, it'll show the 4 different test materials that you can try. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on this first engraving one, and this is the walnut keychain. So I'm going to click on that. I can click on preview, and that will show an outline of where it's going to be cut. And now I'll just want to lower the machine by using the buttons on top. Until I get a nice good focus, I'll have the 2 dots overlapping. I'll also place down my piece and get this set up just right. And then once you have everything aligned, just go ahead and click on laser engraving, and that'll begin the process. So let's take a look at that piece. And as you can see, I think that turned out really good. Now this did produce an awful lot of smoke, which is what that air purifier is for, or at least you should have the cover on and try and vent out some of that smoke out a window or anywhere you can. So I'll go ahead, I'm gonna run another test now on another one of their pieces and their test files. So let's jump back over to the computer and let's get that set up. So again, I'll go into the little USB drive, and we're gonna try this 3D floral pattern on some stone slate. So I'll get this all set up. I'm gonna get this all aligned on the machine and centered, and we'll try engraving this and see how it turns out. Alright, so this has finished, and as you can see, this did blow dust everywhere. Now I didn't realize it was going to take 3 hours. Otherwise I would have put on the dust cover and used the air purifier. But lesson learned, but as you can see, I would definitely recommend using the cover, otherwise this is what's going to happen. But let's take a look at this and see how it turned out. And as you can see, I think that turned out great. This is really deep. I will get this washed up though and clean up all this dust before I continue. But after that, I will go back to using the dust cover, and I will set up the air purifier as well. So we'll do that and then we'll be right back. So here is the air purifier. It does come with the extra hoses. You can see in 2 extra filters when you need to replace them, because they obviously will not last forever. And the lid that goes on. So I'm going to get this all set up and attached to the machine, and we'll be back right after that. Alright, so now that I have the air purifier all hooked up and ready to go, I'll jump back over to the computer and we'll try running another test. Alright, so back over here in LDS software, we're going to try engraving an image onto some basswood. So in order to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and on this left-hand side, I'll click on this image, or you can hit Control K, or you can even just drag and drop the image into the Design Space software. So I'll click on this pirate, click Open. We'll let it import it. And now I want to remove this white background, so I'm going to go up into Edit, and I'm just going to click on this magic eraser and click on this white background, and that will remove it for me. So I'll click OK. And up on the left, you can see Effect, Bitmap Copy. If I click under Effect, you can see that there is like pencil mode, black and white, so I can get some different effects. I'm going to leave this on to Dither. And then over on the right-hand side, this is going to be basswood. Now they do have presets already set up for it, so depending on what you want to choose, like aluminum oxide, depending on whether you're engraving or cut it, it'll switch it for you. I'm going to go and I'm going to click on, we'll do basswood plank, and I'm going to adjust these settings a little bit. Now I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out. Right now they have it set to 100% power and it's running really fast. I'm actually going to go ahead, I'm going to change this up to 2K, just to get a little bit better resolution, and I'm going to keep this at 1 pass. The power, I'm going to bump down, try 47, according to their specs I'm going off of on their little cheat sheet. And on the depth, we're going to go to 53. And now I can click on Preview, and I'll get this all set up over at the laser. Over at the machine now, I will be using this piece of basswood. This is about, I don't know, 2-3 millimeters thick. So I'm just going to place this under, and I will be using the air purifier along with the cover on this so I don't have smoke blowing everywhere. So I'm going to want to make sure and I turn this on, and I'll just flip the switch on the back. You can see that it lights up, and in order to turn it on, you just need to push one of the buttons. Now I actually can go ahead and make this stronger if I want, and now I just want to lower these so the 2 dots overlap once again. And you can push and hold and it'll do it quicker. Push it again and stop. So right about there, those 2 pieces are overlapping. Place the cover back over it. We'll head back over to the computer and then we'll hit start, and let's see how this turns out. Now as you can see, I'm not getting any smoke seeping out from the seams at all. It's all being ventilated out the back. And there's not even any smoke coming out the back of this. Now I should probably have this going out the window, but I don't, since this is working just fine. Alright, so that has just finished. I am just going to power off the air purifier, just so we don't hear that in the background. I'll raise this up and let's take a look. So there you have it. I think that came out really good. I'm quite happy with how that turned out. There is one little blemish right here that you can see kind of underneath his eye, but I think that's probably has to do with the wood, probably somewhere in the grain or something, that's why that's there. But overall, I think that turned out really, really good. So I'm going to test out this slide extension now. We're going to try this out and see how well this works, but I will get this all connected to the machine. I will remove the cover in the meantime. But I'll get this all set up, we'll head over to the computer, and let's try this out. So setting up the slide extension is really simple. All you need to do is take one of the cords and plug in the USB-C side into the side of the slide extension, and the other end goes into the back of the machine. And now for this test, I will just be using a piece of this red oak. I'll just get it placed onto the slide extension. We'll head over to the computer, set up the file, and get this engraved. So back over at the computer, in order to get this set up, I'm just going to go into this upper right-hand corner under this little gear icon. I'm going to go into mode, and I'm going to turn on this slide extension. I'll click OK, and then I'll also turn on this G-code button as well. And now I can close this, and now in my layout, you can see I have a much bigger area to work with. So for this engraving on the red oak, I'm going to just go ahead and do my channel name. So I'm just going to add some text. And I'll just put in Artbyadrock. Let's go ahead, let's just change the font style to, I don't know, maybe cartoon. That looks fun. And I'm just going to do the outline because I don't want this to take forever. So I am just going to make it and just do the line. Now, the one thing that is weird about this, if you want to do just the outline of this, you have to set it to hollow and not solid because there is no line option on here, at least not that I'm aware of. So it will say a fill, but it won't actually fill it in. It will just do the outline because you did choose hollow under the style. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to make this bigger, and we'll try and just kind of fill up this entire space. I'm not really too concerned on how it all looks and whether I stretch it and make it big. Let's just keep it relatively simple. And now over on the right-hand side, we'll go into laser settings, and I'm just going to choose, I don't think there's a red oak option on here. Let's just do, I don't know, black walnut. Let's see what those settings go off of. So it says 50, 89. So here you can see if I click on this, this is the actual speed as well in millimeters per second. So 18.69. I can probably bump this up, and I think I can make this go a little bit faster as well. Now this is just a test. I really have no idea how this is going to turn out. I'm just kind of guessing. But let's bump this up a little bit more. If I get a little charring, I don't really care. And speed, let's go to 65. That sounds fun. So now I can go ahead and I'll click on preview. And if I click on this preview button, you can see that it'll show the outline on the wood of where it's going to engrave. And now once you're happy with the preview, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on laser engraving. Again, it'll show you the number of passes, the power, and the depth. I'm going to click confirm, and I am going to be leaving the cover off on this one so you can see it a little bit better. And we'll see if the smoke still kind of gets sucked out the back. I'm not quite sure, but let's find out. But make sure you are wearing your safety goggles as well, since I am going to be taking the cover off of this. So let's take a look. I'll get this all raised up, make it a little bit easier to remove. And I think that turned out good. I guess I picked the right settings, because I think that is nice and dark. It's kind of hard to see, but there you go. That's a little bit better. But yeah, I think the slide extension works really well. I would recommend, though, that if you are using the cover, that you are going to want a piece that is relatively flat and even. Otherwise, when you place your piece down, when you actually go to get it all focused on, the guard will hit it in certain spots if it is a little bit warped. So I'll get this slide attachment removed now and unhooked, and I will attach the rotary attachment, and we're going to try that out and see how well that works. And in order to get this set up, since I do already have it connected to the base, all I need to do is just plug in the USB-C into the back. And then to have this oriented properly, you just need to place it this way on the machine. So I'm just going to try out a wooden dowel, and to get this connected, I did just attach these pieces that came with it. I'll place the piece in, and I can tighten it down. You will want to make sure your piece is level, so if you need to adjust the angle on the side, you can. So I'll head back on over to the computer, we'll get a file set up, and let's try this out. So here I am back over in LDS software, And as you can see, I just chose this image of a skull. I can zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Now, in order to get this set up for the rotary attachment, you just need to go up to the little gear icon, click on it. I'll click on mode, and just make sure you enable the rotation axis. I can turn this off and then turn it back on just to double check, and it will enable the G-code printing. Make sure that's turned on. And now as for the effect, I'm just going to keep this as dither. I could set this as black and white again, or pencil, or stamp, or relief, but I'm not going to, or I can invert it. But I'll just leave this as is, and you can see here my height is 37.94, my width is 27.84. And up in here in the right too, you do have to scroll down and set the diameter of your piece. My wooden dowel is 31.8 millimeters in diameter, so make sure you have that set up as well, otherwise your engraving will be off. And then as far as the settings go, I just chose material cardboard. I'm going to set the resolution to 2K. The laser source, I will be using the diode. I'll just do one pass with a power of 25 and a depth of 5, so it goes relatively quickly. Now I'll hit preview. I'll get this all centered and aligned, and then we'll go ahead and start this engraving. So let's see how that turned out. I'll take off my safety goggles, loosen that up, and I think that turned out really good. Now you can actually see different marks from where the grain is in the wood, and I think that actually gives it a pretty cool effect. So I'm going to go ahead now and run a few more tests on this machine, including one of these little brass coins to do some deep engraving to see how those turn out. But I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll be back right after that. All right, so I tried engraving a few more items, and we'll just kind of go down the line. First, we'll start with this aluminum card that I cut out. And as you can see, it cut it out just fine. This is relatively thin, but this is metal, and it engraved it really, really well. I tried engraving on this cork, and as you can see, I think the detail on this came out really good. Now, I did actually try doing it the first time, but I messed up and I didn't set the power correctly, so I did go ahead and adjust it, and that's the final results. I did try doing a deep engrave on a brass coin, and here you can see this Joker. I did hit this with a wire brush after I was finished, but as you can see, I think the detail turned out good. You can even see the little Batman symbol in there. Now, I think it could be a little bit better, and I only set the resolution to 2K, and this did take about 4 hours, little over, to engrave it. So I probably could have bumped it up to 4K resolution and probably got some better results. But yes, it does work. You can actually see how deep it goes. You can feel that. So it will do some deep engravings. I did try cutting and engraving on a piece of acrylic, and this is about 3 millimeters thick. So I cut this out and actually cut a little hole, and this is nice and smooth. There's no burning or charring, and overall, I think that worked really good. I also tried engraving on some leather, and here you can see this is just an image I took off my phone of my dog, and it came out good. I probably could have adjusted the contrast and brightness a little bit, but overall, I'm quite happy with it. So yeah, this machine is capable of engraving in just about every type of material you can think of, whether it be wood, acrylic, aluminum, brass, steel, copper, slate or stone. This will pretty much handle it all. Even if you want to do larger engravings, like this long board, I was able to do that as well using this slide extension. Now, just like any other machine, I did have my hiccups, like when I was trying a piece of leather the first time and I just set the power entirely too high and completely nuked it. Also, when I was testing out their aluminum sheeting, I did have to adjust some settings because it wasn't cutting through the first time when I went off of their settings that they supplied. So I did have to make some slight adjustments in the power and depth in order to get it to cut through. So I'll go over now a few things that I really like about this machine and a few things that I think could be a little bit better. So first, I'll start with the positives. So I think number one is the size. Now, this machine is a very small footprint. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It is relatively lightweight, so if I need to move this around anywhere, I easily can. I can also remove it from the base and the stand. If I want to engrave, let's say, the wall, I can just take it off, lift it up, stick it on the wall, and I can engrave on there. Now keep in mind though, as this machine isn't that heavy, it will probably be heavy if you're doing an engraving on a wall and you have to hold that there for a set amount of time. I think all the accessories worked really well. The slide extension was super simple to set up. All I had to do was hook up a cord into the back. Same with the rotary extension, hook up a cord, set it up in the software and just toggle on the switch and you're pretty much done. The air purifier is probably one of my favorite, as this just worked fantastic. It was able to suck up all the smoke from burning wood, and I didn't have any smoke whatsoever seeping out the bottom of the machine and spilling out all over the place. So the machine itself and all the accessories came very nicely packaged, so I wasn't worried about anything being damaged whatsoever. Getting it set up and running for the first engraving was really simple, and using the USB with the pre-installed test files worked great. As far as the engravings went, I think they all worked great and really fast no matter what material I was trying to use. Trying to cut through metal though did take a little while, but it was still able to do it by just tweaking a few of the settings. Now I do like the protective cover that goes over it. When you have it installed, there's no need to use the supplied safety glasses, but I would still recommend using them just in case. The fan on the back of the cover is also really powerful and was able to pull out all the smoke while the engraving was running. I do really like the electric lifter for focusing the machine. With the simple push of a button, you can easily raise and lower the machine to get a perfect focus on any material you're trying to engrave. As far as the software goes, everything was fairly easy to get set up and working, although it does have some drawbacks, but I'll get into that in a little bit. I do like that it comes with 2 security keys that hook up in the back of the machine to make sure that no one is going to accidentally hurt themselves with it if you're away, kind of like keeping guns locked up from children so they can't access them. So I'll go over now a few things that I think could just be a little bit better on this. So first, while I do like the protective cover, I think it could just be a little bit easier to get put on. It does have 2 screws that are used to attach it, but I found myself fiddling with the screws and they weren't always screwing into the holes properly. I think using a magnetic cover would be a lot better and a lot quicker than using screws. Also with the cover, I wish it was just a little bit shorter. When you're trying to focus on an object, the focus height is basically the same height as the cover. When I was trying to get a focus on the aluminum, since the aluminum sheet is larger than the cover, it ended up bending up the aluminum when I needed to go a little bit lower to put it in on focus. So basically anything larger than the cover, I'd recommend not using the cover to get the best accurate focus when trying to align the 2 red dots. I don't like that the blue guideline is only a square. I wish it was able to be a full outline in any shape, because trying to center a round image onto a coin or a coaster is rather hard. I couldn't seem to get the exact placement I wanted and found myself guessing on where the center was. Now going into the software, I think it works fine, but it's not fully capable of everything I was looking to do, and some things just seemed harder than they should have been. For instance, if you want to engrave just the outline of a text and not have it filled in, you have to set the text to hollow, but it still shows you're in fill mode, which can be a little bit confusing. It would be better if it would switch to line mode and not fill to take away some of that confusion. The placement of certain things in the software could also be a little bit better. When using the rotary, for example, and need to set the diameter of the object you're engraving, You actually have to scroll down in the upper right corner in order to see that. At first, I didn't realize that you can scroll down, so that was also a little bit confusing. I also couldn't find a way to add any layer masks. Now maybe there is a way and I just don't know about it, but I found that I had to make certain adjustments to some images in different software like Photoshop to get the look I was going for. So yeah, while I think the software is good, it does lack a little bit in terms of functionality and design. So finally, and this goes in both kind of pros and cons, I do like that there is an app available to use with it. Now while it did work and I was able to engrave with it, I found it to be a little bit confusing on how to adjust some of the settings just like in the PC software. Now it's great for on the go when you don't have access to a computer, but keep in mind that it is a little bit more difficult to use, especially on a small screen, so it will take some time getting used to. Now this machine will get relatively loud when engraving due to the fans, especially when the air purifier is running as well, but since the goal is to remove all the smoke, I don't really consider it a bad thing, but these fans are powerful. So overall though, I think this newest LP5 from LaserPecker is fantastic. It certainly has the capability of engraving just about anything with speed and accuracy, while also having a small footprint. Now obviously, as you can see, adding on all the extra accessories will start to take up some space, but to get started, none of them are completely necessary. So if you're new to laser engraving and you want to be able to engrave pretty much anything without having a huge machine taking up all of your workspace, I would definitely choose going with something like this. Now I've tested and reviewed numerous laser engraving machines and pretty much all of them take up a lot of space. This is small enough to place on a desk or an end table, while also easily portable if you need to move it somewhere else or take it on the go. So while this machine is around $3,000 plus, I think it is worth it considering you are getting both a 20-watt diode laser and a 20-watt fiber laser if you want to do some deep engravings into metal or wood or anything like that. So I definitely think the price can justify that. So if you guys are looking on where to pick up this machine, I will put a link though down in the description on where you can pick this up along with all of the accessories. Well, that's going to be it for this video, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below, ring the bell, get notified of all the new videos that come out, and as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.